The amount of things I've manifested with this method is crazy. Your SP will respond to your focus on this if you stay consistent with it. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about one of my favorite methods. It does tie into the concept and practice of scripting, so kind of writing out your ideal reality, but I'm talking specifically about your SP. I don't think I've ever done a video with this exact method and advice, so that's exciting, trying something different. So yeah, if you're a new viewer, please consider thumbsing up the video if you enjoy, subscribing to my channel, turning on that notification bell so you can be one of the first people to see my new content. So yeah, I will pop on screen before starting my actual advice for this video all the extra stuff you can get as a member, LOA Coaching Darling. I'm about to film the monthly challenge, which members have voted on. And then you can also work with me one-on-one with my coaching packages from my website. So yeah, and I think that kind of summarizes what I want to say. Now let's jump into the video. It's basically writing down points about your specific person that you want in your relationship. So of course this can apply to being more general. Maybe if you are open to just dating, I know not everyone is literally just focused on one specific person, and that's obviously okay, and that does open you up to new opportunity, but it is basically focusing on your ideal relationship. So you don't need to worry too much about what your SP is doing or what's happened up until now. You know, focus on obviously the most healthy, positive, happy relationship you can have. It's all about being specific and going to the end result in detail. So again, not just thinking, well, this circumstance is here, so that's what I want to resolve, you know, worrying about what's going on. It really is just focusing on what does that dream relationship and outcome look like? What would your ideal relationship look like? Because really the person is not that they have to be, but interchangeable, because it really is the happiness, the commitment, the loyalty, the balance in the relationship. That's what everyone truly wants and deserves. So it really isn't about what issues or, you know, circumstances you're currently dealing with your SP. And also, even though it is technically called the list method, it's not quite, you know, a story you're creating, a scene you're creating. I would say write it out as if you're detailing your life right now. So you're kind of just writing to yourself, oh, here's a overview of my life. Here's me just journaling and pointing out things that I love about my relationship. It's kind of coming from that context. You don't want to mentally and emotionally come from a state of desperation or lack and thinking, you know, oh, this is what I would really love. This is what I want. I wish I had this. You're saying, okay, this is me in my ideal reality, and here's me just listing out what my partner provides. Reading it is really what evokes the visuals. And yes, you can technically do this just once. I know I mentioned in the intro that I've used this method. It's universal for any topic, but like I said, today is focused on the SP area, relationships as well. But reading it is really what evokes the visuals. And I have done that where I've written it out just once, maybe something a bit more random or a big overview of my life. And, you know, I haven't put too much focus on it. I have started to manifest now. I can't tell you like, I can't quantify the exact details of this is how many days and within weeks this and that, like, and percentages, but I know for sure I've written out so many scripts and paragraphs, and so much of that is now true in my life. Even, you know, within a short period of time after writing it, I've manifested it. So I know this method works. I've had clients as well. This method has worked for them, but it really is. And I'll go into why I recommend a certain routine for this method. It's the reading and the repetition of that is going to bring up more and more visuals, make it seem more real to your mind. And yeah, it's basically a form of scripting, as I said. It's just called the list method. I'm not claiming to have coined this. I certainly didn't make this up. I did see this online. I'm not sure if it was Sammy Ingram or some other creator, but yeah, obviously I did not make up this method. I think that's just kind of the term that has been used. It's a different form of scripting. As I said, just a quick overview before I jump into more advice of how to use this and why it works, so you guys know that I know what I'm talking about. I've had life experiences, and specifically as well my dream apartment. So I literally manifested my ideal apartment. I wrote this so many years ago, and then in hindsight, when I read it back, I thought, oh my gosh, that is so much like my home. And I think I read it a handful of times, maybe up to 20 times. I even read my list. But again, it was not my biggest goal. I was not manifesting to move to a certain home or apartment or anything of that sort. I just kind of wrote out and thought, this is my ideal reality. And I wasn't quite in the manifesting community then at that time either. And then when I looked in hindsight, I thought, wow, my home really reflects that. My recommendation is writing about 10 to 20 points on average. You don't want I mean, of course there are no rules. So if you want to just write, we have a perfect relationship and leave it at that and be like, this is the summary of my reality. Again, no rules. Of course, there's nothing to say that won't still manifest how you want it to. But I think 10 to 20 is enough to add in slightly more granular, specific, detailed things that really reflect exactly what you dream of, visualize, and just in your heart and your mind, like deep down, you genuinely want that in your relationship. And you think, wow, this kind of experience, even if you saw it in a movie, right? It does not matter. If that's what you want and you want your partner to maybe behave a certain way, reflect certain qualities more often, just be able to support you as a partner in a certain way, maybe even like a mutual type of communication, whatever, write that down, go into detail and say, this is exactly what my like perfect relationship and most secure love would look like. Then I would say read it whenever you need a reminder, you need a refresh, you want to focus your mind on it. This can be daily, or you just need a bit of a pick-me-up. Maybe you're having a bit of spiraling, doubt, it's been a tough day. Just read it whenever you feel that you need to refocus your mind and just say, okay, this is the relationship that's being created. This is what I'm accepting and nothing less. This is where things are leading to. And also just in the moment, because your subconscious will take it in, assuming and coming from this playful, fun energy and confident energy of saying, well, this is me looking at my current reality. This is me imagining internally already being there. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You just imagine and you say, okay, let's just focus on this list and really just see what that evokes in my mind. I would say you can also read this out loud, maybe do a bit of mirror work, like reading it to your mirror reflection. This is something I recommend to clients as well, but you can, just kind of be really confident, embody the energy of the end result. That's really what it's coming down to. Imagining mentally, pretending, and yes, logically, intellectually, I know it's not that delulu that you completely forget your reality. You're not living in La La Land. But in those moments of practice and the repetition and just focusing on it, even just for 30 or 60 seconds, you're imagining and embodying being there. Let yourself just be free and calm. I will explain in a moment as well how to get to that point. Just embodying that confident energy of imagine this is real and I'm just reading this out loud to myself, or I'm imagining it as if it were here right now in the room with me. This is the person, this is my relationship. So I would say try and evoke and include as many like senses and details, different points. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, but like, don't just say, well, this is the physical attraction, or I want, this celebrity. Really focus on what it is that you want, deserve, and need in a relationship. What does, all of that. You want the full package, right? So obviously try and evoke as many different areas and examples of what that healthy relationship would look like to you. This will turn it into more of a realistic, not quite false memory, but type of memory for you, where your subconscious doesn't understand or know the difference between what you imagine and what is real. So it's going to feel like more of a realistic memory because you've gone into so much detail. It's almost impossible for your mind not to bring up a visual. So go in with this mindset of, this is like my diary entry. This is me talking about, just my current life. This isn't scripting. This is just me journaling a day in the life, talking about, this is my partner and how amazing they are. I did say I'll give a little bit of advice, and I would say try to get into a little bit of a sat state, which is state akin to sleep. I believe Neville Goddard coined this term, and it basically relates to being in a very meditative, relaxed state where the conscious mind and the logical mind barriers are lowered, the mind and body is more calm, in a balanced state. You're not going to have as many, panicked moments or intrusive thoughts or, opposing thoughts and doubt, and just, you're not going to be in a state of anxiety, basically. So it can come about naturally, like when you first wake up, when you're going to bed, you are, even if you're not like fully relaxed, you are in a more relaxed state, a bit more tired and sleepy. But then throughout the day, you could do some deep breathing. There are guided visuals that can help with this as well. There's lots of different ways to just find a moment throughout your day where you're calm and you say, okay, I'm going to write or read over that list. Getting into SATs to really help you focus on the end result without thinking, but this isn't true, but this, but that, but SP said this or did that. Your mind is just going to be more calm. Also, if you're just feeling happy, confident, maybe you're feeling more motivated and like the end result is more realistic and you're just feeling good about it, that is another moment where that's going to work really well. Scripting is a really fun, creative, quite simple way of focusing on your desired outcome and visualizing. So you don't have to sit down and be able to create a really detailed, evocative scene where it's really enveloping and like you're really embodying that end result in your mind and you're fully connected and focused. I know I sometimes get 1,000 thoughts a minute in my mind, so it can be hard to fully relax and focus if there's lots going on around you. That's why I said before you go to sleep is one example, because things tend to be more quiet, calm, right before you fall asleep is a powerful time to do this. But even just writing it out, obviously anyone can do that. You're physically writing and consciously choosing to do these things. There is no block with that. It might take a bit of time to think of the details, but there's no mental block to stop you from writing it. So that is the first step that, you are obviously already successful in. And then as you read it, it is very, very likely your mind will just naturally bring up visuals of that. So to get more technical as well, this is kind of awakening the frontal lobe. That's essentially what's happening. Perhaps awakening isn't the correct term, but I think you know what I'm saying, that your frontal lobe is getting activated. And by focusing on one end result, one scene, one image, one thought, whatever you want to classify it as, your frontal lobe is getting activated because you're imagining something, you're focusing on an outcome. When it gets engaged, you're basically in that end zone, the end reality of what you're creating, already being in the relationship with your specific person. Your mind, your body are all fully engaging and responding to you doing this practice, even if it doesn't feel totally believable yet. So of course, because you would be applying repetition with this, even if it's just on a weekly basis or a couple of times, follow your intuition and whatever you think works for you. You don't have to make this like a strict regime or, have rules to it. Just read it whenever you want. I do that with my scripting sometimes where, I'm not going to force myself if I have a really busy day, but if I feel motivated or I think, this is a good part of my daily routine, then I'll read over things. But, there's no perfect way to do it for everyone. But as long as there's some form of repetition or focus in the moment, your mind is taking that in. Your subconscious also knows exactly what you want. Obviously, all the deep-rooted beliefs, assumptions, memories, imagery, it's all stored in the subconscious and it knows exactly what you want. And when you do put your focus into that end result of being with your SP, you are connecting to that reality, that mental connection and focus, and being able to just decide what you want and then see it in your mind is the first most powerful step. Also kind of connecting to and creating that magnetic field, the quantum magnetic field connection, because you're focusing on this reality that's already in existence, that's already realistic and possible, and you're mentally imagining it, even just reading the words or just writing it out and saying, yes, this is my relationship in reality, you're bringing that into physical existence. So you're just connecting to it in every possible way, and it's such a powerful, beautiful method. So I'm going to leave this here, but I hope that was a useful video, giving you guys lots of tips of how to implement this method. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments as well. Do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell if you did enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.